And welcome back to Top Shredder Sports. It's Wednesday, so we're going to be talking some hockey and wrapping up the Atlantic Division with the Buffalo Sabres, the Boston Bruins, and the Detroit Red Wings. So let's start with Buffalo. Buffalo finished 6th in the Atlantic last year. I do have them trending up, but I do have them still finishing 6th in the Atlantic this year. Just think the division got better around them, so while they will be an improved team, I still have them missing the playoffs and finishing in the same spot within their division. But let's talk about what they did. They bring in Marcus Johansson in free agency, signed him to a 3-year deal. I really like that addition. They take him from their rival Bruins and add him to their lineup as a nice depth forward. He'll probably play on the third line, maybe the second line there in Buffalo, but just a good two-way winger for them. Speaking of good two-way wingers, they trade for Jimmy Vesey with the New York Rangers. Vesey became expendable when the Rangers signed Panarin. So kind of just a nice addition for the Sabres. They didn't have to give up too much for him. I've always liked Jimmy Vesey since he was in college. I think he's a very good player as well. And he'll kind of fit in probably alongside Jeff Skinner and maybe Jack Eichel there on the first or second line. So that is another good add for them. Then they bring in a depth forward in Curtis Lazar, who's never really found his potential, but who knows, maybe he will in Buffalo, but just a depth piece there. And they trade for Colin Miller, the good defenseman there, so they add to their blue line. As of recording this, Rasmus Ristolainen is still a Sabre, although it seems likely they're moving him. Obviously, he's a very, very underrated defenseman and a good player, so hopefully they can get a good return for him. That could change things where I have them in the division depending how that trade goes, or if he stays. But just wanted to make a quick note of that. He is still on the Sabres as of now, and Colin Miller is joining him on that blue line, so very good piece there. So I really do like what the Sabres did, and they are going to be better. They also, I normally don't bring up extensions, but they did lock up Jeff Skinner for 8 more years, which was a surprising move for me because the Sabres typically aren't able to re-sign guys, but I love that for them. As you all know by now, I've mentioned it a million times, I think Jeff Skinner is one of the most underrated players in the league. So I did really like that as well. Jumping to the Boston Bruins, I have them trending down. Bruins finished 2nd in the Atlantic last year, once again facing the Toronto Maple Leafs in the first round for what seems like the 8th consecutive year, once again beating them in the first round for what seems like the 8th consecutive year, and obviously then losing in the Stanley Cup Final to the Blues. I still have the Bruins making the playoffs. I have them finishing 3rd in the Atlantic, as you know by now. I have Tampa 1st, Toronto 2nd, Boston 3rd. I still see the Bruins beating the Leafs in the first round, but I don't see them having home ice. All they really did is they brought in Brett Ritchie. I already mentioned a few of the pieces that they lost, so I won't get back into that. But they really they don't have as much depth as prior years. I don't know if I see them going much further than the second round. They're still a very good team. They still have all their main pieces and their core in place. Tuukka Rask, Patrice Bergeron, Brad Marchand, Pasternak, all those guys, they're still there. So they're still going to be a very good team. I just think they lost a lot of depth, and I think they're going to kind of struggle come playoff time to really make a deep run. So I do have them trending down, but they'll be back. And lastly, the Detroit Red Wings. I have them trending steady. They really didn't do much, as they shouldn't have. They're in a rebuild. They bring in Adam Ernie from free agency and Valtteri Filppula. Okay players, not anything that's going to put them over the top. And then they bring in Calvin Pickard as their backup goaltender. Again, he's the backup, like nothing special here. So Detroit finished 7th last year. I have them finishing 7th again this year. There's really not much to look forward to right now as a Red Wings fan. They do have good young players, but they're still at least 2 or 3 years away from being back in the playoffs in my mind. So just got to hope for them that their young guys continue to develop and show signs of improvement, and just kind of go from there and see what they have as they move forward in the future. But they'll have another good draft pick, I think, this coming year as they continue to rebuild. So to wrap up the Atlantic, the final standings that I am predicting here, I have Tampa in first, not with 62 wins, not at all. I do have them trending down, if you will, back down to earth a little bit, but they'll still be the best team in this division. Toronto in second, Boston third, Florida fourth, your first wild card team, Montreal 5th, your second wildcard team, Buffalo 6th, Detroit 7th, and the Ottawa Senators in 8th. So that'll do it for the Atlantic. Next week we will start our last division, which is the Central Division, which contains your Stanley Cup champion St. Louis Blues. So we'll get into that. Leave a like, leave a comment, smash that subscribe button. Let me know how wrong I am with these teams. Where do you think the Bruins will go? How far in the playoffs? Do you think the Sabres have a shot of making the playoffs? And what do you think about the Red Wings? There's not much to say about them for me, but let me know what you think. As always, Victor will be back tomorrow with the NFL, and I will see you guys. Actually, I will probably see you Tuesday to wrap up the NBA. We will be talking about the third, second, and first teams from the NBA last year, which is the Philadelphia 76ers, the Toronto Raptors, and the Milwaukee Bucks. Yes. So we'll be back Tuesday for that, and Wednesday for the Central.